Welcome to Let's Thrive Postpartum, where we tackle postpartum depression and anxiety head on, guiding you back to yourself. Join Kelly Siebold, founder of Thrive Postpartum, and Ashley Moore, a maternal mental health therapist. Through honesty and laughter, we share expert advice and real stories. While not therapy or medical advice, you'll find education, support, and hope. Welcome to the village. Let's thrive postpartum.
Welcome to Let's Thrive Postpartum. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Ashley. Happy 2025.
Happy 2025. How is it here already?
I have no idea. I don't think a year has ever flown by faster. We're recording this a little bit in advance for anybody out there listening. And we're going to be taking a little bit of time off over the holidays and New Year's. But we're hoping everybody's year is off to a good start.
And if you're joining us on New Year's, I know Ashley and I will be listening too. Happy New Year's. We are so thankful that you are starting the year off with us and that we can be here as part of your support team for new motherhood, whether you're pregnant, trying to get pregnant, going through postpartum depression or anything after having a child. It can feel very alone, and we just want you to know that we are here for you, and we are very thankful to be here with you.
Yes, we definitely are. I think today we're going to talk about a little twist on what we normally hear about at New Year's, which are New Year's resolutions. And instead of a resolution, we want to talk about a New Year's intention.
Ashley, what's the difference?
So, and everybody could have a different interpretation of this, but the way it feels good for me to think about it is that an intention often seems to get more into like your why and your feeling, and is sometimes a little easier to commit to because you've really dug down and figured out why you want to change something, or like why you're going to change something to achieve a different feeling, right? Or a goal feeling that you might have. Resolutions often tend to be a little more superficial and don't always have the why attached, right? So people will say, I'm not going to drink it all during January, but they haven't really figured out why they're going to do that, right? Maybe they're doing it because that's what everybody does. Or I'm going to go on a diet in January. Or I'm not going to do this. Or I'm going to go to the gym every day, right? That's the classic, is that the gym sign up get really, really busy right after New Year's. But if you don't really dig down and figure out why that's important to you, what it means, how you're hoping it's going to change you or your family, it's very easy for it to just go away because your brain is kind of like, okay, but why? Why are we doing this? Why is this important?
And we're all busy. We're all struggling with new motherhood. There's so much going on. And it's very easy to fall exactly into that rut and say, you know what? I'm going to try to lose that last 15 pounds of baby weight that I have that just isn't coming off. But studies always show that your New Year's resolutions kind of fizzle out around like day 16 or 17. It's somewhere right in those first 2 to 3 weeks. And then you add the shame. And moms were already dealing with mom guilt and shame. And I wish I should have. And taking that burden off of us this year and saying there's already enough emotions going on. I'm already struggling enough. Why are we doing this? I love your idea of talking about intentions and thinking about why we want to focus on something and improve something. And this is meant to be helpful. If this is helpful for you, not to add any additional things to your to-do list or overwhelm to your already full plate. It's how do you look ahead for 2025 and say, I think I'd like to do something a little bit different for me.
Yeah. I think it's about like how to set an intention is first starting with remembering intentions are going to be more having to do connected to like your feelings and how you're feeling, whereas maybe a resolution might be more about like doing something. So intentions do eventually require doing something, but it first requires that you sit and find a quiet place, find a couple minutes to yourself, or start doing a little bit of reflection and thinking about like, what's important to me? What is important to my family? Are there ways that I've been feeling over this past year about myself or things that I've been feeling about my family, right? Have I had a negative self-image? Have I felt like my family, like we're not as connected as I would like to be? Have I been feeling anxious and depressed? Have I not been feeling connected to friends and social things, right? Like it could be anything, but trying to drill down, like, what am I wanting to feel differently? Where am I wanting things to change? And thinking about, well, how is that gonna, like, what would be different about my life if I didn't feel this way? Or if I did feel this way? And so, Kelly, do you have any examples that come to mind?
I do. So I wanted to see if we can do kind of a sample one, and then I'd love to just do mine while we're talking about it. But so what if we started this with a thought of we were struggling after having a child. Let's kind of talk to other moms who are struggling after a child. So what if, Ashley, what if your thing is, I just don't like how I feel? Like emotionally, everything about I just don't feel like me and I don't feel good. And
Hmm.
I'd like this year to feel better as a mom and as myself.
Yeah. So I would probably, if I was doing this like with a mom, is to make sure that first we're kind of defining like, what doesn't feel good, right? Like, are you feeling, is it sad? Is it low self-esteem? Is it guilt? Is it, right? And it could be a bunch of those, but defining like what doesn't feel good. And then defining what is it that you do want to feel like. And we're not going to say happy, right? That's way too subjective or way too subjective. But we are going to say, like, I would like to feel like connected again with my friends. I would like to feel more positive about like the way that I talk to myself, the way I think, like basically your self-esteem. I would like to feel more connected to my partner or my spouse again. And so this is where that reflection and kind of tuning in place comes in, is thinking about, what is it that doesn't feel good? Like, what are you hoping to feel? And how would that impact your life? Because there's lots of different things and different intentions you could set that would affect how you feel in a positive way. But you kind of have to find the one that feels most important to you because, again, like you've got to latch onto it. This needs to be something that you're like, this is so, so important to me. And so we don't want to then focus in on maybe like social connections if what's really important is like your connection with your spouse, right?
Yep.
Or we don't want to focus in on the connection with your spouse if what really is going on is like you need to be feeling better about yourself and like your self-esteem.
Okay.
And so we would kind of try and decide like what is it that feels, if you're not feeling like yourself, let's say that it's more about maybe self-esteem related. Does that sound, you want to go with that kind of?
Let's do it. We could do that. So I was thinking, what if I just say I'm really sad and I feel like I've lost me a little bit in there.
Yeah.
And that could be self-esteem related, right? But I feel like
Mhm.
me just doesn't feel like me anymore.
Yeah. Me doesn't feel like me anymore. And so we would say, well, what kind of me do you want to feel? What would be the goal me? What would her feelings and her like persona be like?
She would want to do some of the stuff that she used to do.
Hmm.
She would want to focus. She liked to work. She'd want to focus back thinking, okay, I want to be focused more on that
Hmm.
and have some more external experiences so that I kind of feel like who I used to be.
Okay. Okay. So so the first one especially is like something with doing, like doing the things that you
Okay.
want to do. So that's like a list of different things you can come up with, right? Of certain
Okay.
activities. In terms of the work, that would be maybe digging a little more into like values, like what is it, like what is important to you now, especially as moms, like what has changed. And sometimes we're like, oh, well, this is important. And I'm like, well, is it still important to you right now? Or was that what was important to you
That's a good point.
before you had kids?
Yes. And values change.
Because for some people, right, like values sometimes shift from money in either direction. It can shift in like satisfaction or feeling like you're contributing or part of a team or doing something on your own, right? Like there's all these different things that are values that kind of play into our jobs. And so you can dig into a little bit of that. So let's say you're feeling sad, you want to feel more like yourself. You want to, what was that again, Kelly? You want to do the things that you used to like doing.
Yeah, I feel like I just don't really know what I like to do anymore, but I love to do things in the past. So I'd like to know, I want to be able to have some of that doing part again. So it makes me feel like me, and me really like to have a career. And so how do I make that be something that I care about again?
Okay. So we'll do like a little visualization. So let's imagine that whatever it is, like you're doing the things that you want to be doing, you're doing the work that you want to be doing. Close your eyes for a minute and visualize what are the feelings associated with that. Like if you're able to do all these things, then what are you feeling inside?
Oh, thinking through it with my eyes closed, I would feel motivated.
Mm-hmm.
I'd feel accomplished, like I check stuff off of my to-do list.
Okay.
I would feel social because I'm interacting with other people, not just myself.
Okay.
And I'd feel, I don't know the correct way to say this, but I would have good self-esteem because I'd feel like I would be contributing to a way that I felt like I should be contributing.
Okay. And that's kind of a good example too, because again, self-esteem, it's very subjective, but there's all these things that play into our self-esteem, right? So, like you said, motivated, accomplished, social, contributing to something, all of that goes into having positive self-esteem. For some people, there might be other things that play into that as well. But sometimes there's so many paths to accomplish the same goal, right? And so for you, these are kind of the ones that it sounds like for you lead to positive self-esteem.
Positive self-esteem. And I would have, if you would have said, Kelly set an intention, I would not have said, let's work on my positive self-esteem. But the way you said it, the way you're like, that's what all of that goes back to. And I would not have connected those dots.
Yeah. So you've been able to visualize how you would feel, and it sounds like you know what it feels like to be motivated and accomplished. Like you can kind of recall that, like just
Yes,
how it feels good in general is what it sounds like.
it does. Somehow that makes me feel good.
Okay. So then, and this is where sometimes I have a hard time, is articulating some of this stuff down into like a statement and something that is kind of short that you could kind of say over and over to yourself. And this is where using some of these words can be specific, because if your intention was, I want to feel more like myself, right? That's not
That's
very
very
specific.
subjective. Yeah, that doesn't really help a lot.
Doesn't tell you what direction to go in or what that even means, right? And even if you said, I want to do things that I used to do, or like I want to feel different about my work, right? That's still a little subjective. Some of these other words is like motivated, accomplished, social, contributing. What are some things that make you feel like social? Like seeing friends?
Talking and being around friends and family. And I'm an introvert. And so I'm very happy to be in my house till I realize I need to be around people. And so sometimes work makes me be more around people and more social than I typically would do. And it also is very beneficial that way.
And you probably, though, feel the best, though, when if you're more of an introvert, you're talking with people that fill you up, that you like.
Yes.
Right? That you're not talking with people where you feel like you're wasting your time.
Yes.
So not any social interaction. It needs to be like a meaningful social.
Quality. Yes. Quality social interaction.
Okay. What about like, what makes you feel like you're contributing to something? Is that like being part of a team or feeling like you're helping in some way?
I think it's feeling like I'm helping. And whether that's just even helping a team contribute something, helping bring money into my family, just I feel like helping makes me feel good.
Okay. All right. What about like motivated and accomplished? Do you have any kind of examples?
I like checking stuff off my to-do list. Even if it is, I'm going to empty the laundry today. I like to write it down and check it off. It makes me feel good. And I know that's crazy to say, but if you're a mom listening and you get it, you get it. Like there's just something about saying I did something.
Yeah.
Even if it's minute.
Yep. And then what about motivated? Because also the accomplishment could make you feel motivated, right? Like you have to feel accomplished in order to feel.
Yes, when you start doing more, you want to do more. Kind of like if you're sitting still, you continue to sit still. It's harder to get off the couch. But once you
Mhm.
start going, it's easier. So I think that's what it is. How do I want to do more
Okay.
versus sit on the couch and be sad?
So I would say then, taking some of these like specific examples in terms of an intention, your overall an intention can be like, and I'm not great at distilling things down, but your overall idea is something like, I am basically, it is my intention to change the way that I'm currently feeling about myself by talking with people who fill me up on a regular basis, by helping out, whether it's work or in some other like contributory way to a cause or something, by making sure that I'm organized and I'm checking off, like I'm creating lists and to-do lists because that feels good to me, which will then allow me to feel motivated and engaged in what I'm doing. Okay. So, in a way, you're making yourself a list because this is now the things that you can do, right? Like you can make sure that you're engaging in social interactions. You can seek out opportunities to be helpful, whatever that might look like, but you know that that feeling is important. So, if you know that helping and contributing is an important feeling, then you can seek out like different opportunities or like volunteer, whatever it is, things that like bring about that feeling and avoid the stuff that doesn't bring about that feeling. And then, like, I would say overall, with making a list, you also could have the intention of like every morning, you're going to make a list of like how you're going to feel social today, what you can do to contribute to something today, like what you can do to feel accomplished today, which might just mean checking off 2 boxes on that list.
And it could be. And that's like the fact that I made a list and that I talked to somebody could be that's my accomplishment, right? It really is just saying, let me do what I'm saying I'm going to do.
Yeah. And then why? Like, why is feeling like yourself important?
Because I feel like I would be a better mom. If I felt more like me, I would be a more authentic mom, right? Because it's me. But I also feel like I would be happier. I would show up better. All the things that I would envision motherhood to do that just couldn't happen when I was sad.
Yeah. So it's going to allow you to do something that is really, really important to you.
Really important to me.
Yeah.
So when I get up,
Which is much easier than thinking, like to sink your teeth into and commit to than saying, I'm going to feel better about myself by going to the gym 3 times a week.
yes, because yes, that would feel great. It wouldn't hurt for me to go to the gym 3 times a week. But if you said, okay, Kelly, your intention is to be social 3 times a week, that would not be on my list of things to do. But when it comes back to this is your intention, it makes you feel better. All the steps we just walked through, that makes me want to go be social 3 times a week. Notice I didn't say every day.
Yeah.
It's the introvert in me. Baby steps.
But here's the thing, a lot of times with some of the more stuff that's like maybe surface level, by feeling accomplished and feeling motivated, you're probably going to go to the gym
Yes.
because you're feeling accomplished and motivated, right? Like the gym is not going to make you feel motivated.
Mm-mm.
You are going to go to the gym because you found another way to be motivated.
Yes. I love it.
That makes sense. So it kind of, there's all kinds of things where you're like, there's many roads to the same goal. But when you, with intentions, when you're just digging into like, why is this important? How am I hoping to feel differently? Like, what would be different about my life if I did feel this way? That is the difference between like an intention versus just like a more of a superficial goal.
Actually, I loved walking me through that and you doing it. Will you list out kind of the steps for our mom's listing? To
Yeah.
be like, okay, here's exactly the steps to do what we just did so that you
Hmm.
can take some time by yourself, sit down, think through this, replay this a couple times, come back and work through your intention as well if you decide you want to set one for 2025.
Yeah. So I think the first part again is taking some time to reflect. What's important to me? What kind of person do I want to be? How do I want to feel? And you could start with that big picture. How do I want to feel? Like, what are some general feelings that I would like to be there? Then thinking about what is like not working right now, right? I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling disconnected. Like whatever's going on there, like what is not working so that you can look at that and constantly reflect back and make sure that as you go through this, you are going as far away as possible from the feelings that you know for you don't feel good. Because everybody's different. Like some people want to pull away from the social interaction, right? Other people want to move towards it. So this is very individual for you. Thinking about like values, what gives you energy, what drains you, that's going to kind of help you learn a little more about yourself and figure out like what feels good. So then you're going to want to like tune in and sit. And as you've made these lists, right? You've written down all these different things. I like for people, and I do this myself, I'll kind of sit for a minute and I'll close my eyes and I will read over the list again very slowly. And I'll kind of see, like, how does that feel in my body? Is there something that when I say it, I'm like, oh God, I know I should do that, but like, I really don't want to do that. Or are there things where I'm like, oh, well, yeah, like that sounds good. Like, I love being social. I love helping and volunteering. And you're going to know what feels good and what doesn't feel good in your body. Some people describe it as like your initial, like, yes or no.
Okay.
Is what comes up. And then think about, so the visualization piece, again, close your eyes. If you were able to do these things that you want to do in the first, that we listed out in the first part, or you had these feelings, you felt this way, how would you feel? Would you feel like Kelly said, she would feel motivated, accomplished, social, like she's contributing? What does that look like for you? What would your life? Maybe it's being connected. Maybe it's being, like having more autonomy, more whatever that is. And then the hardest part, because I'm not great at distilling things down, is to look at some of this and try and come up with a statement. So if you have like your feeling words from your visualization, this is how I would feel. That's kind of the goal. You can write down a couple things. Well, what would that look like? So again, with you, Kelly, it was like, well, I'd feel social. Well, that looks like I'm talking to people who fill me up, and I'm not talking to people who drain me.
Yes.
So you can write some of this stuff down and try, and your statement might be kind of big, but if you type it out and hang it up somewhere, it doesn't matter. You can read it every day. But you're writing down and trying to summarize more of this feeling. So like this, and again, this is not where my forte lies, but with Kelly, it was like, I'm going to care for myself this year by focusing on things that are important to me, including being social, by da 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 da, feeling like I'm contributing by doing da 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 da, feeling accomplishment through like making lists and, checking things off, being organized, that kind of thing. That's kind of how you can try and distill some of this down into a statement. And some of it might be more related to feeling. This is where, some people say like connect it to like something that you do on a regular basis. So maybe every morning you say, I'm going to read my intention, and like Kelly, I'm going to make a list of a couple things that I can do that I know that day are going to bring me that feeling of accomplishment, are going to bring that feeling of being social. And you can do that every day. For other people, maybe you say every morning, I'm going to spend 5 minutes like with my coffee or tea, and I'm going to like journal and reflect on like, what am I hoping for the day? What can I do? Sometimes when we bring in what we can control about a situation, that feels really good and puts us in a place of like, we're like, yes, I can do this. And it's important for sometimes that you're thinking about this on a daily basis, because you don't even have to do anything, right? Like it doesn't require you necessarily to do anything every day. But if every morning you're kind of reflecting and you're reading, oh yeah, I did say 2 weeks ago, this is what was important to me. I said that this is how I'm hoping I feel. Do I still feel that way? Yeah. Have I been over the past week doing things that are slowly putting me onto that path? No. Okay. Well, what can we do to either change some of the goals, right? Like maybe some of the things you wrote down are a little too difficult, right? Or maybe the bar is way too high and you're like, I can't do that. And that's too hard. Let's lower it down, right? Like make it something that's way more achievable. But always going back to why. Like, does the reason why I'm doing this still provide me the motivation to keep doing it? If it doesn't, then you might need to change it. or do a little more like exploration. But I do think a lot of times, like when people figure out a really solid why, a lot of the more superficial stuff will happen automatically at some point because they have something really solid to hold on to.
And I think if you are listening and your why is that you're struggling, you want to feel better. I mean, there's so many ways in addition to doing this, of remembering to go seek help this year and kind of be like, one of my things is I want to go talk to a therapist, or I want to join a support group, or do certain things that may be outside of that comfort zone. But if they're going to help you feel a better way that you want to feel, it might be something really worth considering starting the year off in something that's really going to help you reach that intentions. Because I even Googled some intention stuff. I love one that was reduce my mom guilt, right? Maybe there's so much mom guilt that we all have, and we have an episode on that, of just let me go through and think through these pieces. Could be some good ones. There's so many things. And this is all something we want to help you versus add additional stress, add that additional to-do list. That isn't something we want. But I think you're right. Connecting it back to why is that huge difference between that and I'm going to the gym today as my New Year's resolution.
Right. Why are you going to the gym? You know?
Because I should. And should isn't a word that I've learned is not a word you should say.
Because you feel like you should, but like, do you really need to? Like, is it something for you? Is it something for someone else? There's a lot. And when you really can get, I think a lot about too with health stuff is like, for me recently, we talked about this one time in our episode, Kelly, about like self-image or something,
Yes.
like body image. Is for me, when I finally was able to make my why for like doing yoga and doing Pilates, because it feels good to me and it's my way of relieving stress and it's my chance to have an hour just to myself. And it had nothing to do with like losing weight or looking different. I was able so easily to just do it on a regular basis because I was like, this feels good. My why now is because it feels good to me and it is making me feel relaxed and calm. But the side effect too is, yes, of course, it's going to help change your body because you're exercising. But it was just having a different reason gave me way more motivation to go. And so there's a lot of things like that where it's like the downstream effect is what you superficially want, but the immediate, like that immediate why and reason is normally much, much deeper. But when you can sort that out, you end up being able to commit to something way more long-term because it has a lot more meaning.
It does. And if you're struggling with that overwhelm or anxiety or sadness or any of those challenges, kind of this new motherhood phase or pregnancy, having that why and saying, here's why I'm trying to do something different can be really crucial.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we hope that you have the most amazing start to 2025. We are so excited to be here with you on this journey for whatever unfolds this year. The good news is we are all here together and we can still be your village, even though we are remote and on a podcast. We are so thankful that you are part of our village as well. And we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, please be sure to hit subscribe, leave us your feedback, and give us a 5-star review. For even more support, visit us at wethrivepostpartum.com/podcast to sign up for our newsletter and learn more about our community. Remember, you are not alone. With support, you can feel better. Together, let's thrive postpartum.